Okay, welcome back. The next round we're covering is East Asia, and this is primarily China. You can call this a monocentric realm pretty much because of the dominance of the country of China. Then there are only a handful of other countries, including lightly populated Mongolia, an economic powerhouse of Japan, the two Koreas, North and South. Talk a little more about those. And then there's also some that have an interesting relationship with China, particularly Taiwan, which, if it's an independent country, depends on if you ask Taiwan or if you ask China. And also some that were independent but are part of China, including Hong Kong. So know your key concepts, ideas, and terms. Let's just give a quick overview of the physical environments of the United States and China. This is a figure showing China as an area overlaid with the continental United States. So if you include Alaska, the United States and China are almost the same size in terms of area. There's a lot of things they have in common. There are similar latitudes that China's a little further south and north, but is pretty similar. And likewise, when it comes to climate, that climate in East Asia follows a similar pattern than the United States. You have cold climates in the north, as you do in the United States north. Mild climates in the south, as you do in the United States south. And in the interior, you have mountains and deserts in the US because of the rain shadow of the Sierra Nevada. And likewise, in the interior of East Asia, you have a rain shadow from the Himalayas, and that causes highlands and deserts as well. One thing missing from East Asia is they have no west coast as we do in the United States. But other than that, it's remarkably similar because they're at similar latitudes. Now, one of the most important aspects of physical geography in East Asia, and China in particular, are its major river valleys. And so like the Ganges and Ganges Delta and Indus River valleys in South Asia, these are three primary ones in East Asia and China. First is the Huanghe, kind of the northern one here, sort of northern, middle, and south. And these have both Englishized names and also Chinese names. So this is the Chinese name. You might have also heard of it called the Yellow River. If you've heard of that, it's the same one. The Zhangjiang is in the middle, also called the Yangtze River. And it has a massive dam, I believe the largest one on earth, that controls the water of the Zhangjiang. And then lastly, in the south, you have the Pearl River estuary, or the Z River, also called the Pearl River, in the south. And that spills out into an area called the Pearl River estuary, where that is the general area of Hong Kong. And these river valleys are really important. They're areas of agriculture and high population density in China, just as the river valleys in South Asia are. One quick thing, let me move myself down here. The Huanghe River is actually our last cultural hearth. The Huanghe River is a cultural hearth in China where agriculture was first developed, or cultivation of plants, including rice and soybeans, in the distant human past. Now the other two, the Zhangjiang and the Z River, or the Pearl, are important economically because they connect important economic cities of China to the interior. The economic center of China is Shanghai, right in the middle. Shanghai is also called the head of the dragon, and the dragon is actually the Zhangjiang River, which kind of curves like a dragon on a map. And Shanghai is right here at the head of that dragon. In the south, the Z River spills into an area called the Pearl River estuary, and that's generally where you have Hong Kong. Hong Kong and Shanghai are two super important economic areas in China as well, and they're connected to the interior by rivers. Okay, a couple of other comparisons. When we looked at North America, one thing we saw is that with the exception of the West Coast, let's ignore that for now. If we pretend we lopped that off, and if we looked at it, perhaps say from Nevada eastward, We would have a bit more concentration in the east, where there is milder weather, more rainfall, and more agriculture. If we compare us to China, China has a similar pattern, but much more extreme, that the very low population density in the interior, and all of the people are really concentrated here in the valleys and the river, especially river valleys, and the areas that are not so rugged and not so dry, where you can grow food. So one thing about China, although it's roughly the same size as the United States, remember that it has over 1 billion people. It's the most populated country in the world, and that population is fairly concentrated in the east. So here's a larger view of it. Greatest concentrations of people in the east, especially along these river valleys like the Pearl and the Shangjiang and the Huanghe. If we look at a map that highlights the physical environment of East Asia, you can really see why that is. This environment in the west of China is the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau, high elevations, mountainous, and also interior landlocked deserts. And so not that many people live back here. We all live down here essentially in this green part, which are the lower river valleys. Relatively flat, arable, meaning you can grow food in there, and supporting a large population.